There are some people who do not destroy your life all at once. They do it slowly, conversation by conversation, argument by argument, guilt trip by guilt trip, disrespect by disrespect. They do not always look like an obvious enemy. Sometimes they look like family. Sometimes they look like a friend. Sometimes they look like someone you love. Sometimes they look like someone you keep giving chances to because you remember who they used to be or who you hope they could become. But your body knows. Your mind knows. Your peace knows. Because every time you deal with them, something in you gets heavier. You may not even know how to explain it at first. You just know that after certain conversations, you feel drained. After certain visits, you feel anxious. After certain messages, your whole mood changes. After certain people leave the room, you finally feel like you can breathe again. That is not random. That is information. Sometimes your peace leaves before you do. And one of the strongest things you can learn is how to recognize when someone is not just annoying you, disagreeing with you, or having a bad day. They are draining your peace. This is one of the ideas behind my book, Let Them Go. Because letting go is not always about one dramatic ending. Sometimes it begins with noticing what someone consistently does to your mind, your energy, your confidence, and your ability to feel calm in your own life. So in this video, I want to talk about 5 signs someone may be draining your peace. Not so you can hate them, not so you can judge them, not so you can become cold, but so you can be honest. Because if you keep calling something love when it feels like exhaustion, you will keep losing yourself trying to make it work. Sign number 1. You feel tense before you even deal with them. Before they call, you already feel tired. Before you see their name on your phone, a part of you already knows what is coming. Before the visit, before the conversation, before the family gathering, before the message, your body starts preparing for stress. You might feel your stomach tighten. You might start rehearsing what to say. You might start wondering what mood they will be in. You might start planning how to avoid certain topics. You might already feel guilty, defensive, nervous, irritated, or emotionally braced. That is a major sign. Because peaceful relationships do not require you to constantly prepare for impact. In healthy relationships, you may still have hard conversations. You may still disagree. You may still have moments where things are uncomfortable. But you do not feel like you are walking into a storm every time. You do not feel like you have to shrink, perform, explain, manage, or protect yourself before the interaction even starts. When someone drains your peace, the relationship often becomes something your nervous system has to survive. You are not just talking to them. You are managing them. You are reading their tone. You are watching their face. You are choosing words carefully. You are avoiding the wrong trigger. You are trying to get through the conversation without another problem starting. And after a while, that becomes exhausting. You may even start telling yourself, it's not that bad. But your body is saying something else. Your body is saying, this person does not feel safe to my peace. That does not always mean they are evil. It does not always mean they are trying to hurt you on purpose. But it does mean the pattern is costing you something. And you have to be honest about that. If you consistently feel worse before and after dealing with someone, that is not something to ignore. Peace should not feel like something you only get back after they leave. Sign number 2. You keep explaining yourself, but nothing changes. This is one of the clearest signs someone is draining your peace. You explain how you feel. They dismiss it. You explain what hurt you. They twist it. You explain your boundary. They challenge it. You explain your intentions. They accuse you anyway. You explain what you need. They act like you are asking for too much. And then, after all of that explaining, you end up right back in the same place. Same argument. Same disrespect. Same confusion. Same emotional exhaustion. At some point, you have to ask yourself, are they really not understanding me? Or are they benefiting from not understanding me? Because there is a difference. Some people genuinely need clarification. They listen. They care. They try. They may not get it perfect, but you can tell they are making an effort. Other people use your explanations as a place to keep you stuck. They do not want understanding. They want access. They want control. They want you to keep defending yourself until you are too tired to stand by what you said. They want to turn every boundary into a debate. They want to turn every feeling into a problem with you. They want to turn every conversation into a courtroom where you are always on trial. And when you are dealing with someone like that, more explaining will not bring more peace. It will only drain more energy. You do not have to keep giving speeches to people who have already decided not to listen. You do not have to explain the same pain 20 different ways. You do not have to keep making your boundaries sound nicer, softer, smaller, or more convenient so someone else can pretend it is acceptable. Some people do not need another explanation. They need a consequence. They need less access. They need to learn that your peace is not available for endless debate. And you need to learn that being understood by someone who refuses to listen is not the price of being free. You can stop explaining. You can stop defending. You can stop trying to find the perfect words that finally make them care. If someone wanted to understand, they would not need you to bleed emotionally every time you speak. Sign number 3. They make you feel guilty for having boundaries. This one is very important. People who drain your peace often do not just dislike your boundaries. They act offended that you would have boundaries at all. They may say things like, "So now you think you're better than everyone? You've changed. You're being selfish. You're too sensitive. You're making a big deal out of nothing. I guess I just can't say anything anymore." Or they may not say it directly. They may become cold. They may punish you with silence. They may act wounded. They may make you feel like you did something wrong simply because you said no, asked for respect, or stopped allowing the same pattern. And if you are someone who cares deeply, that guilt can be powerful. You may start questioning yourself. Maybe I was too harsh. Maybe I should have said it differently. Maybe I am being selfish. Maybe I should just let it go. Maybe I should be the bigger person. But here's the question. How many times have you been the bigger person while they kept becoming the same person? How many times have you swallowed your feelings to keep the peace, only to realize there was no real peace? There was only silence. There was only you absorbing the discomfort so they did not have to change. That is not peace. That is self-abandonment. A boundary is not an attack. A boundary is a line that protects what is healthy. A boundary says, "I am not available for this kind of treatment anymore." A boundary says, "I can love you, but I cannot keep losing myself to make this relationship work." A boundary says, "I am allowed to have limits." People who respect you may not always love your boundary at first, but they will make room for it. People who benefit from your lack of boundaries will call your boundary a problem. That is how you know. If someone only liked you when you were easier to use, easier to control, easier to guilt, easier to interrupt, easier to disrespect, easier to access, then they were not attached to your peace. They were attached to your availability. And when you finally protect yourself, they call it selfish because they were benefiting from you not doing it. Let them call it selfish. Let them call it cold. Let them say you changed. Sometimes you did change. You changed from someone who kept absorbing pain into someone who finally decided your peace matters too. That is not something to apologize for. Sign number 4. You feel smaller around them. Pay attention to who you become around certain people. Do you become quieter? Do you become more anxious? Do you become less confident? Do you hide your good news? Do you downplay your goals? Do you stop sharing your thoughts? Do you feel like you have to be careful not to shine too much, speak too honestly, or be too happy? That matters. Because the right people do not require you to become a smaller version of yourself just to keep the relationship comfortable. Some people drain your peace by making you feel like your normal self is too much. Your joy is too much. Your confidence is too much. Your sadness is too much. Your boundaries are too much. Your dreams are too much. Your healing is too much. Your growth is too much. So you start editing yourself. You share less. You laugh less. You dream more quietly. You keep your wins private. You stop asking for support. You stop expecting them to be happy for you. You start becoming someone easier for them to handle. And the sad part is, you may not notice it right away. You may just feel different around them. Less free, less open, less peaceful, less yourself. That is a sign. A person who loves you in a healthy way should not make you feel like you have to disappear in order to be accepted. You should not have to dim your light to avoid someone's insecurity. You should not have to hide your growth because someone is more comfortable with the old version of you. You should not have to become emotionally small so someone else can feel big. If you consistently leave someone feeling less like yourself, pay attention. Your peace is not only about the absence of conflict. It is also about the presence of freedom. Freedom to be honest. Freedom to grow. Freedom to rest. Freedom to express yourself. Freedom to say no. Freedom to succeed. Freedom to heal. Freedom to be a full person, not just the version of you that keeps someone else comfortable. If someone keeps pulling you away from that, they are not just draining your mood. They are draining your life. Sign number 5. Your life feels lighter when they are not involved. This may be the clearest sign of all. When they are not around, you feel more peaceful. When you stop texting them, your mind gets quieter. When you do not have to explain anything to them, your day feels easier. When you stop checking what they think, you feel freer. When you imagine less access, more distance, or a life without their constant emotional weight, something in you relaxes. That is not something to ignore. Sometimes your peace is trying to show you the truth before your mind is ready to accept it. Because your mind may have excuses. Your mind may say, but they're family. But we've known each other forever. But they had a hard life. But they don't mean it. But maybe I'm overreacting. But what if I regret it? But what if they change? And maybe some of that is complicated. Real life is complicated. Letting go is not always simple. Boundaries are not always easy. Love does not just disappear because someone is unhealthy for you. But peace is still information. If your life consistently feels lighter when someone has less access to you, that matters. It does not mean you have to hate them. It does not mean you have to make a dramatic announcement. It does not mean you have to explain your entire decision to everyone. It may simply mean you need distance. It may mean you need firmer boundaries. It may mean you need to stop answering immediately. It may mean you need to stop sharing personal things with them. It may mean you need to stop expecting them to be someone they have repeatedly shown you they are not. It may mean you need to let go of the version of the relationship you wished you had, so you can deal with the reality of the relationship you actually have. That is painful, but it is also freeing. Because the moment you stop pretending someone brings peace when they actually bring chaos, you can start making different choices. You can start protecting your time. You can start protecting your mind. You can start protecting your energy. You can start protecting the version of you that is trying to heal and grow. And that matters more than keeping someone comfortable with access they have not handled well. Now, when you notice these signs, the answer is not always to cut someone off immediately. Sometimes the answer is a conversation. Sometimes it is a boundary. Sometimes it is taking a step back. Sometimes it is lowering your expectations. Sometimes it is accepting that a person can be in your life, but not in the center of your life. Sometimes it is loving someone from a distance. And sometimes, yes, it is letting them go. The point is not to become harsh. The point is to become honest. Because you cannot heal in the same pattern that keeps hurting you. You cannot build peace while handing your emotional energy to people who keep draining it. You cannot become the person you are trying to become if you keep shrinking back into relationships that require you to abandon yourself. So ask yourself, who leaves me feeling heavy? Who makes me feel anxious before I even talk to them? Who makes me explain the same thing over and over, but nothing changes? Who makes me feel guilty for having basic boundaries? Who makes me feel smaller than I really am? Who does my life feel lighter without? These are not easy questions, but they are honest questions. And honest questions can save you years of confusion. Because sometimes the person draining your peace is not obvious at first. They may still have good qualities. They may still have moments where they are kind. They may still be someone you care about. They may still be someone you wish things were different with. But you have to stop measuring relationships only by the good moments. You also have to measure them by the pattern. The pattern is what tells the truth. Anyone can be kind for a moment. Anyone can apologize when they feel you pulling away. Anyone can say the right thing when they want access back. But the pattern shows you what your life becomes when they are close. Do you become more peaceful or more anxious? Do you become more yourself or less yourself? Do you feel supported or managed? Do you feel respected or guilty? Do you feel safe or constantly on edge? That is where the truth lives. And once you see the truth, you do not have to hate them. You just have to stop betraying yourself to keep them. You can wish someone well and still choose distance. You can love someone and still set a boundary. You can forgive someone and still not give them the same access. You can understand why someone is the way they are and still decide you cannot keep paying the price for it. That is maturity. That is self-respect. That is peace. Letting go does not always mean slamming a door. Sometimes it means quietly taking your energy back. It means no longer volunteering for the same emotional exhaustion. It means no longer explaining yourself to people who do not listen. It means no longer shrinking yourself around people who are uncomfortable with your growth. It means no longer confusing guilt with love. It means no longer calling chaos normal just because you are used to it. And if you are realizing that someone has been draining your peace, be gentle with yourself. You may have stayed because you cared. You may have stayed because you hoped. You may have stayed because you thought if you loved harder, explained better, forgave more, or tried longer, things would finally change. That does not make you weak. It makes you human. But now that you see it, you have a choice. You can keep handing your peace to people who keep mishandling it. Or you can begin taking it back. one boundary at a time, one honest decision at a time, one quiet step away from chaos at a time. Your peace is not selfish. Your limits are not cruel. Your healing is not an insult to anyone else. Your growth does not need everyone's permission. And your life is too valuable to spend it constantly recovering from people who refuse to treat your peace with care. So if someone is draining your peace, pay attention. Not with hatred, not with bitterness, but with wisdom. Because sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is stop arguing with the signs. Stop explaining the signs. Stop minimizing the signs. Stop pretending you do not feel what you feel. Your peace is telling you something. Listen to it. And when the time comes, have the courage to choose it. If this message spoke to you, this is exactly the kind of emotional clarity I talk about in Let Them Go. Because letting go is not always about giving up on people. Sometimes it is about finally refusing to give up on yourself. You can care about people and still protect your peace. You can love people and still have limits. You can remember the good and still be honest about the damage. And you can let go, not because you hate them, but because you are finally learning to stop abandoning yourself. So pay attention to who drains your peace. Pay attention to who gives you anxiety instead of safety. Pay attention to who makes your life feel heavier, smaller, and more chaotic. And then remember this. You are allowed to choose peace. Even if they do not understand. Even if they call it selfish. Even if they think you changed. Because sometimes choosing peace is the change your life has been waiting for. Thanks for watching. If this message spoke to you, remember to check out my book, Let Them Go, available on Amazon in Kindle ebook and paperback. You can also find it by searching for Brandon Murray Books on Amazon. And don't forget, you are allowed to choose peace.